How is the state of the present law firm business model, and is it just need to be improved, or follow what Pete is doing, what he is saying? Responses from the panel.
Well, I'll dive in, I guess, right? As you noted, I'm formally, so I can actually say a few things that, without attribution to any particular company. You know, I don't disagree with some of the things that Pete says, but I think that if the attitude is, why are you criticizing me? Why are you bothering to, tell me that I'm not doing a good job because you may be inferior? That is diametrically opposed to at least my view of how corporations and law firms should be operating. There shouldn't be this us-them, right? It shouldn't be a, what are you doing and what am I doing? This should be about partnering. This should be about creating a synergy between the two organizations or the groups of organizations, rather than talking about how, what divides us. And so from my perspective, I think it's critical, and answering the question of what's changed, I think finally both law firms and companies have recognized that there is a mutuality of interest in finding a solution to the problems that we have. The reality is our costs are going up way too fast as in-house counsel. Our corporations, as a percentage of our spend, continues to go up. It is also true that law firms provide tremendous value to companies, but there is a built-in inefficiency in the way the law firm, law department, law school model works. It is a very inefficient system when you look at it compared to other models. And so I think there is a great advantage in having some turmoil right now, because now we can actually take the gloves off and say, all right, how do we fix this thing? As opposed to getting into an us-them perspective.
In terms of a historical view of the profession and the moment we're at today, I really think that you have to look and see how the profession has changed in terms of who the clients and who the law firms are. Within the professional lifetime of a lot of people that are sitting up at this table, a large law firm was 150 people 30 years ago, and now that would be considered to be practically a boutique. From an in-house counsel perspective, the trusted advisor now is the in-house lawyer. I heard this from several GCs who say that I'm the trusted advisor of the C-suite executives, and to a certain extent that's diametrically opposed to the way it was, say, 40 or 50 years ago, where the trusted advisor was the outside counsel and the in-house lawyer wasn't a very marquee position. What I think is happening is the market is just maturing, and people like Tom and the other general counsel are very sophisticated legal consumers, and they're, for the first time in their lives, actually have to be accountable for their cost pressures, and it's rolling down to people like Pete, and then from Pete's perspective, it's rolling down to the law schools, and I think that we're going to be having what the law firms are going through is going to roll down to the law schools in a big-time way.
And Rich, are there one or two issues that you think just absolutely positively must be addressed by the law firm community in more the short term, and probably the 12 to 18 months, things that absolutely must be addressed to move forward?
Well, I want to echo both Tom and Bill's comments that this isn't an adversarial situation. If our law firms are not performing well, that is as much our responsibility as it is theirs. The saying we have is there are no bad outside lawyers, there are only bad clients. And so if we're not being a good and intelligent and sophisticated client, then shame on us. So I don't buy that. As to the changes, technology has to continue to be embraced by the law firms and understood by law firms and in-house counsel. 3 years ago, I would suggest that all of the corporations around the country, or at least many of them, were paying law firms to have associates review the same email, and maybe 7, 10 associates reviewing a duplicate email, or 4 or 5 associates each reviewing a different email in a lengthy email chain. Now we have technology that's able to immediately deduplicate all of those emails, so they're only reviewing one of those, and you can assure yourself that the associate is reviewing the end of the email chain. That in and of itself has saved my company millions of dollars in the last 2 or 3 years. It's technology that has to be embraced. Ironically, we're a profession that I would suggest over the last 100 years has not done anything differently than we've always done it. And I would also suggest we're the only industry that is proud of that contention. And for us as a profession not to embrace change and innovation, I think over the next 18 months, over the next 18 years, we're all going to fail.
I would add, to make a distinction between industry change and change at certain institutions, and I do think that that's radically different, and I think maybe some of Pete's emotion coming through in his comments may be reflective of that. As an industry, from an outside observer, somebody who is a partner to both firms and corporations, I'd have to say, the outside observer would say that the industry changes very slowly. There has been change. It's been noticeable. If you look at how law firms operate today versus how they operated a decade ago, there's been a huge influx of professional staff, CMOs, CTOs, CFOs. They fundamentally operate differently at what I would call at the margins and at the edges. But has there been fundamental innovation in the model in the law firm industry? I don't think so. If that's the case, I don't see it. I think there's isolated pockets and examples of it out in the industry. But the core model, I don't think has changed. And part of what the survey reflects is the pretty significant disconnect in expectations between corporate counsel and the law firms. Mm-hmm. And so while I do think there probably are isolated exceptions, as a whole, I think we're looking at an industry that's very slow to change. And the factors that make it slow to change, I don't see changing anytime soon. And that is highly fractionalized, typically, leadership, partnership leadership. It's different, I would say, Pete, than a corporation, which can actually respond faster, typically because of a command and control management structure. Other than certain exceptions of law firms that have extremely strong managing partners. But as a whole, I would say it's been slow.
I was going to pick up on a point that Mike mentioned that I think maybe hasn't gotten enough attention yet, that management of law firms is something that has traditionally, I think, in the industry, not been valued or recognized as important as it is. We have one of the reasons to take Pete's point that the industry is not monolithic is we've had well-managed law firms and poorly managed law firms, and some of those poorly managed law firms, have faced obviously some difficulty. It's probably true that some poorly managed law firms have done well, also. Because management can only have so much of an effect. So law firms can, I believe, should develop their own business models. And I think Pete's got a fair point that it's hard to paint a monolithic, paint with a single brush here, the industry as a monolith, because different firms have different business models. All that said, for big law firms, over the course of my career, over the last 35 or so years, the big law firm model has been to buy wholesale and sell retail. And that works fine in a world of increasing demand for law firms, for legal services. And we've had a dramatically increasing demand for legal services. There have been some dips and the like, but we've had generally a huge increase since I graduated from law school in 1970 in demand for legal services. And that allows both increasing rates. It allows you to buy more wholesale and sell it retail. Unlike buying widgets, some of those people you buy here, they want to become owners, right? They're not just content. So, which puts an incentive on the law firm, makes it necessary in that model for it to continue to increase and increase and increase, and it can only do that at increasing rates if there's a huge demand. I think the fundamental question facing law firms in the next 10 years is going to be, are we likely to see, at least in the United States, a continuing increase in demand at the levels that we've seen it in the past? My own answer would be no, but that involves a lot of economic predictions about what's going to happen in the United States. But if the answer is no, as I believe it is, I think it does have profound implications for the business model.